Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Spirit Centered Business. I'm Bralynn and I have Coach Gary Henson with me. I will be introducing him more in a minute. But for right now, I just want to let you know that the Academy is opening soon. So if you want to get on board with that, we have a lot of great teachings, including, I'm so excited for what Gary's going to be teaching today in the Academy. So watch for those enrollment open promos that I'll be doing shortly in the next week or so, because definitely by the end of February, we will be rolling with that. And so I'm excited. You'll have weekly new content from all of our guests, including bonus stuff from me, and the twice a month Zoom call where you get to be on in a group coaching situation and hot seat coaching and Q&A and whatever anybody needs. So we're going to be doing that twice a month as well. So that is the Academy. It will be opening soon, and that is all of my announcements. Let's get to our guest. We have Coach Gary Henson. He is the founder, president, grand poobah of businesscoach.com, one of the longest standing coaching businesses in the galaxy, right? The
Yes,
galaxy.
in the entire galaxy. Right
Okay,
on.
sounds good. I was going to say the US and then I thought the world. I thought, nah, let's go with galaxy.
We're going with the galaxy.
All right. So Gary's been a coach for over 30 years, and I have the absolute honor and pleasure of working with him. He has coached me as we've kind of traded coaching, and he just has brilliance to share today. So, Coach Gary, why don't you start by telling us the story of how you blend your spirituality and spiritual principles into your business? Tell us about the history of your business, and all of that. Welcome.
Okay, good. Thank you for having me on today. I love being a part of what you're doing here, and any way we can and I can make a contribution, be happy to do that. As you know, my wife and I love you, and we've been associated for friends and business associates for a number of years. And I love what you're doing, and I love being a part of this program that you put together.
Oh, thank
So,
you.
as you said, we have been in the business coaching arena for over 30 years. In my short career, in my long career, I guess I should say,
Yeah.
in San Francisco, a gentleman by the name of Jim Selman invented the coaching industry, the business coaching industry as well. And I learned directly from him. He mentored me, and some of his students mentored me and got me kicked off several years ago. And at that time, I was not a faithful or a practicing Christian. And maybe a couple of years after I gave my heart to the Lord and became a full-fledged card-carrying follower of Jesus. Was having lunch with my wife one day, and I said, this business has become a ministry for us. Somehow, some way, all kinds of different people have shown up in our life through our faith walk and through our church relationships, plural. And we traveled quite a bit. We met a lot of different pastors and a lot of different people that influenced our lives in business and in our personal life. And I said, I really think this is a business. This business is a ministry. And to that end, as per usual, Janine and I had a disagreement about that. We weren't sure what that meant, but I just felt that was the calling, if you will, And I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't clear exactly what that meant. But we were going forward, not just working with business owners and leaders, which is our calling, which is our main bread and butter of our business, but we had at that point already started training and certifying business coaches and teaching people what we did. And we just kept doing that, but noticing that there was this influence of our faith walk that was a big part of our daily business. So it wasn't like we had a business and then we went to church on Sunday. It was like every day there were pastors, there were people, there were churches that we were coaching. There was all kinds of people that showed up in our lives that were beyond what you would call a traditional business model. That went on for a number of years. And then I remember this one specific season when we have a product that we sell online that's for business coaches to get trained and certified and learn our craft. And there was a season where we had a number of phone calls where people had set appointments to talk with me about that. And I'll never forget, there was a grandmother in Jacksonville, Florida, that I was on the phone with. And as the conversation developed, I asked her, do you think you want to be a business coach? And would you be willing to pay for a program? And it's going to take you several weeks to learn this, and you may want to be involved with our other programs, et cetera. We got all that straightened out in this conversation. And then the Holy Spirit clearly said to me, ask her now if she has a prayer request. Now, keep in mind, I had already declared that our business was a ministry, a marketplace ministry, a business and a ministry at the same time. And I wasn't really sure what that meant, but here God was speaking to me saying, ask her if she needs prayer. Well, I don't know about you, but in that part of my life, when I talked to total strangers, I didn't really think that was an obvious question that fit into a business conversation. But I heard him say it 2 or 3 times, and I said, at the end of the call, she said, well, thank you very much for the information. I'll consider our conversation, and I'll look online to see your programs, et cetera. And I said to her, is there anything that you would have me pray for you for? There was a silence for just a moment. And she said, well, yes, there is. She says, my grandson's going in the hospital tomorrow, and he's going to have some surgery. Would you pray for myself and my grandson? I said, certainly. I felt actually relieved by that. It was comfortable at that moment after I got the words out of my mouth. So that was my first experiment to kind of step out of the comfort zone, if you will. And a few days later, I found myself on the phone with another lady. This lady was probably, I'm guessing, in her late 40s, and she had a passion to become a business coach. We got to the end of the conversation. I said, would you like to buy the product? And she said, well, I can't buy the product. My husband has taken away my credit cards and frozen our accounts and taken my names off. And I realized that she was in a little tougher situation than I would have imagined. And again, the Lord prompted me and said, well, ask her if she needs any prayer. And obviously she did. And I think it was easier the second time because I believe this lady indicated that she was a Christian, and we went ahead and I prayed for her, and she thanked me profusely, and she actually got a little teared up, and it again felt comfortable at the end of that moment. And then a third time it happened to me again. But this next time was the one that really affirmed for me that we had become something more than just a business and something more than just saying that we do ministry or things on the side. I was talking to a lady in Lithuania, and she had emailed me and asked me if instead of a phone call, if we could do it on Skype. And I said, certainly. So as you can probably imagine, early in the morning here is late in the evening overseas. And I knew that it would be late in the evening for her. And we got on the Skype call, and she seemed like a very likable and lovely person. We got into the conversation, and again, it seemed to kind of go the same direction. But in this case, it was a kind of a special phone call. Number one, I had now become accustomed to asking people if they wanted prayer. Number two, this lady was in some kind of a room in her home where all the lights were off. It was dark. And all I could see was this dark background and this angelic face in front of me with this very sweet, loving, caring, but very sincere lady. Her face took up most of the screen. She must have had the camera really close, in. And she started telling me again her story about this estranged marriage that she was in. And she met a man from another country, and they got married, and he does a lot of traveling and so on and so forth. And she thought that maybe she could buy the course, and it would give her an independence from this relationship with this man, and that she could feel like she had a business coaching career rather than being a stay-at-home mom. She had a teenage daughter, I believe. And as I looked at the screen and saw this angelic lady in front of me, I asked her Two, I said, well, can I pray for this situation for you? Can you, would you allow me to pray? And let's ask God to intervene and help your marriage come together rather than thinking that you're creating an exit plan. Let's see if we can pray for God to actually change your husband's heart and your heart and see if we can find some common ground. As I was saying this, I guess I was kind of looking down or looking away, and I could hear her agree to that. When I looked up, I saw these tears streaming down her face, like I was an answer to these prayers, and that it gave her a different perspective, which is very much common in the coaching world. We're all about transformation and having people look at their lives differently through a different set of lens and look at different opportunities that they maybe hadn't seen before. So we prayed, and she seemed very relieved. And a week later, I got an email from her saying that she had a very heart-to-heart conversation with her husband after that, and shared her heart and explained where she thought that the marriage was very uncomfortable for her and not going in a direction that she wanted to stay in that marriage, and that they had a deep conversation, and he repented, and the two of them talked, and after they came together and talked, that things were on a much better plane. And so I then realized that there's a lot of times there's more to business than just what you would normally think of as business. And also there's more to business relationships than what you would think of a common relationship. And I know you know that, and I know that you and I have experienced that together. You've spent time with my wife and I, and we've gone out to dinner, and we've gone places together and spent extended time together. And
I stayed overnight at your house.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was kind of avoiding seeing that. I didn't know how to bridge that gap.
Well, because I was working with your wife.
Yes, good. Thank you. That seems a little more comfortable to me to say it in a recorded call. So right? The point being is that I know you understand relationships, but this is taking it to another level. It's taking it to a level where you ask for permission for people to really get into their emotions, into their heart, into their real world, the behind the scenes world, and really help people and make a difference for people. And it has nothing to do with whether they're buying our products or hiring us as their coach or anything, but we really learned 8 or 10 or 12 years ago that there's a beyond the normal relationship that you can have with people that others are willing to have if you show that concern, if you show the compassion for what's really going on in their life.
Yeah, that's really good. I was going to point out for our audience, if you listen to or look at the underlying tone of what's going on here, you'll hear Coach Gary was saying he heard that divine word that really spoke into him, and then he was able to be obedient and execute, to ask her if she needs prayer. Do you need prayer? And it meant something to her. That's because he was listening to that spiritual influence, the Holy Spirit, and he was plugged into that divine nature, and he could hear that. And then he not only did that, but he was obedient to do what he heard the voice calling him to do. And then what he saw was another spiritual principle of deepening relationships by really having that empathy for the other person and really loving them from the place of, I want to know more and I want to help at a core level, like you as a person, not you as a client.
Yes.
And that's absolutely beautiful, Gary. Okay, yeah. Continue.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to emphasize, to be really transparent about it. The first one was listening to the prompting of the Holy Spirit, which was common ground for me. But the first one was more of a push or a nudge. It wasn't just listening and being obedient. It was like, come on now, I'm giving you some insight here. And it was very uncomfortable for me that first time, because I'm talking to a total stranger who went onto my website or somehow got connected to me, and they set an appointment on my calendar to speak to me. So when I pick up the phone or speak to that person, I have no idea who that is on the other end of the night. It's just at the beginning, it's a name, and it's a prospective business relationship. And so
it's a divine connection, though.
well,
I
well,
never take anything for granted. Yes, I understand that that was early, and so you wouldn't have put that together, but
yes,
it's so true that, God orchestrates all of our meetings and all of the coincidences
yes,
in our lives. So,
yes,
yeah, good.
absolutely, yeah. So that was then, and as you know, bringing us up to current events. Just yesterday, I was on the phone with a different kind of a business relationship. It was not a prospective client. It was a relationship of two people finding out whether they would be interested in working together. I have something, you have something. Is one and one two? If so, maybe we don't need to invest our time working together. But if one and one is 10 or 5 or a bigger number, maybe there's some synergy to working together.
Yeah, so
So
more like
there,
a joint venture or something?
yeah, joint venture
Cool.
type of relationship. It's a little bit complicated, but we'll leave it at that. And in the conversation, there began to be a commonality of language, of different courses, different experiences that this other gentleman had, and I had. And so we had a common language. And at the end of it, at the end of the conversation, when I signed off, I said, well, there's another common language that I have with some people in my life. And those people share the same faith that I have. I'm not a religious person. I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a non-denominational person who studies the Bible and seeks the truth. And so there's another language I had. And again, in the domain of divine coincidences, he surprised me by saying, oh, really? He said, that's interesting that you would share that with me today in this business call, strictly business call. It's interesting you would share that with me today because I've been asking myself why I've been denying the reality of having a relationship with God in my life. Why is that such a foreign conversation to me? And what is it that I'm pretending not to know? And I said, wow. I said, you are halfway there. If you're open to a conversation and you'll listen to other people, or if you read a Bible, or if you go into a church setting and you're open-minded, then you'll find out whether it's the right timing and the right opportunity for you to believe in God.
But another answer to prayer.
Closed-minded, you get nowhere. Open-minded, you get your truth. And I'm not here to tell you what your truth is, but I will say this: the next time we get on the phone, I would like to share with you my experience of my being open to that and where God led me. And I said to him, I said, if you are open-minded and you will seek the truth, God will speak to you just as he speaks to me. And you can find out your truth and the truth about having a relationship, not with just God like a statue or a picture, but God like a relationship with a living God who can actually, you can have a two-way dialogue. And again, I know you understand this, and we've had these conversations, but not everybody understands that because they have not heard from God. They haven't had that divine connection, and it's foreign to them. And so he was very open to that. And I'm really looking forward to the next time he and I have a chance to chat about it.
That's so awesome. That's really good. So you've been exercising specific instructions from God in your faith, right? But there's also other spiritual principles that you use on a daily basis in your business, and you also teach people just, regular, the business principles are spiritual principles. And I'd like you to share a little bit more about that, because I know that you teach this, and sometimes, here's another thing that I love about you, Coach Gary, is sometimes you don't even know what you're teaching. You know what I mean? You don't even know the depth of your brilliance. And so If you can actually see that, share it.
Well, I'm not sure if I can actually see it, but I'm happy to share it. And I'm hugely complimented. That's the best compliment I think anybody could really get, because backing up the bus just a little bit, my three core redemptive spiritual gifts are teacher, encourager, and giver. And that's the way God made me. And I didn't realize that until I studied that and took a course on that particular topic. But the one of my mentors said to me one time, I asked him, well, where do you get this knowledge? Where do you get these insights that you get? And he says, well, these principles have been around for thousands of years. He says, I just found them in the Bible. I just reworded some of them, and they actually are not my principles. They're things that are common ground. Now, simple examples of that are the 10 Commandments. Okay, it's just common sense that murder is not a good thing, and it doesn't end up good for anybody. So when you look at the 10 Commandments, that's an obvious way that you can see that there's spiritual principles that work universally. Yes. Mm-hmm. But in the book of John, there's actually a quote from Jesus himself, and he said, if you're seeking the truth will set you free. And people use phrases like that, and they use things that are in the Bible. They don't know that they're in the Bible. I mentioned it to some relatives, some things in the Bible, and they said, where do you find that in the Bible? And I said, well, it's right there, and gave them the address, and they can look it up. So there's a lot of spiritual principles, but in the business world, a lot of times we refer to them as transformation. We refer to them as change tools, change agent tools, transformational tools that will give you a leg up in your business or in your coaching business that will help you out. And some people refer to their skills. They don't know, they haven't studied the Bible. They say, I have spiritual skill sets and spirituality inside of me that I use. But really, we all have that. It's God-given things. Mm-hmm. The key to accessing that is to study the Bible and to learn where those things are and what those things are. That will give you spiritual gifts. And the reference I made to my redemptive gifts are in the book of Romans in the New Testament in chapter 12. And that's where I found those. And for those of you that think it might be easy to just go look them up, there's 7 of them outlined there. I'll be very transparent again. I was actually in an argument with God one day, asking him, why doesn't he expose those to me? He said, you've got it open right to that page. Read it again, and I'll point them out to you. And he did. So it's another example of how you can learn and reading the Bible and studying the Bible, not just reading it from as fast as you can, but studying the Word of God and learning what that means. And doing Bible studies really will give you some spiritual principles that are universal in business, in marriage, in family life, all parts of your life, because that's the way it works.
That's really good. And so I know that you coach organizations and you coach entrepreneurs, and you also train people to be coaches and entrepreneurs. Yes. Of their own coaching business.
That's correct.
So where did you start with those 3? How did it evolve?
Well, it actually evolved from me taking some personal growth, some spiritual, I don't want to use the word spiritual because they weren't defined as that, but similar to spiritual words, personal growth courses, and courses that were deeply steeped in transformation. And by that, what I mean is that you take a 3 or 4 or 5 day version of one of these transformational courses, and you walk in on a Friday night, and a different person in the same clothes walks out different on Sunday or Monday. It's a whole different experience of really examining what it is that you want for your life. What are the barriers and the things that you can't see that are getting in the way of your life? And what are you willing to commit to change and be different about your life? And so as I took the first course, I realized I was a little more messed up than I thought I was. I wasn't really being totally honest with myself. I had been divorced for a couple of years from my first wife. I was in a kind of a on the surface in a bright space, but in the behind the scenes kind of a dark place in my life, not really knowing what I wanted or what I was going to do next. And after I took the next course and the next course, I was blessed by meeting. When I got to the last course, in the end, I got to meet Jim Selman, the author, the inventor of coaching and business coaching. And I asked him if he would meet with me and teach me how to become a business coach. And as we all know now, 32 years later, I am that. Mm-hmm. And he taught me the principles of taking transformation and coaching, which is more about transforming people and people's lives and giving them an opportunity to change, and consulting and wrapping them together so that you give people practical tools and practical skills to learn in their business, but also teach them how to get out of their own way. Because as human beings, the biggest distraction that we have in our lives is us. We can't be us and be outside of us at the same time, mirroring ourselves. So if we have someone else that's in our life that's willing to be very genuinely authentic with us and give us feedback about their experience, mm-hmm. then that becomes coaching, and it actually gives a person the opportunity to choose in their life. Do they want to continue on that path, or do they want to actually examine that and make a change in their life? And I examined, did I really want to be single for the rest of my life? And that was a story I was telling my friends. And the answer was no, I didn't really want that. Did I want to be a better father to my two children, my two daughters, my first marriage? The answer was yes. And I don't know that I was being that. Did I want to be more healthy and be more responsible in life in different areas of my life? My health and other areas of my life? The answers were yes. But was I doing those things? No. And I didn't really have the tools to make long-term changes. I had the tools to have a New Year's resolution, but that would last for a day or a week or a month, and then it went away. So that's why I decided that I love business, and I love this process of transforming and changing and going from a caterpillar to a cocoon to a butterfly. And I also realized that was a process that I had to get on a bandwagon and stay on that for a long time, ride that wagon for a long time to get to the end game. So I thought, hey, here's a great opportunity. I love business. I love the coaching process. I love transformation. In order to really change my life for the better and consistently, the shortcut is become one. Get in the game full time, 365 days a year. And then as I'm coaching other people and sharing with them how they can transform their lives, how that they can change their business, how they can change their attitude, their expression, their authenticity, their personality, their leadership, their team building, their relationships inside of business world. If I were teaching people that all day, every day, enough of it would rub off on this guy, and this guy could be a better person.
Yeah, our stories are very similar, because I knew that I loved being in the personal development space, and really enjoyed, Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar, and back in the day, Anthony Robbins. I'm not sure about now, he's quite changed, but there were a lot of those, Dennis Waitley and Brian Tracy, and, a lot of really good transformational people and I said, wow, that's the industry that I want to be in. Okay, so what does that look like for me? What is my spiritual gifting, and how can I get into that industry and be around those kind of people all the time and get paid for it, right?
Yeah, so of course, well, we got to pay the bills, so you might as well do something that you love and get paid for it.
Right, exactly. Well, I think this is a great time to take a break. And when we come back, Coach Gary, I want to ask you, well, you know what? First of all, while we're still on this subject of you doing the transformation, would you mind, or is it appropriate for you to just let us know some of the people that you learned from? Because I just named a few, some of mine, mentors way back in the day. Who were you
Yes.
learning from back in
That
the
is a great question, and I'm going to tease people on the other side. We're going to give a little bit of lesson about who you can learn from and what you can learn and what things you want to learn. But for right now, I'll say this: I learned early in the game that following one person, one methodology, one system, one process wasn't going to be enough. And what I really found out was it's not only it wasn't going to be enough for me, it wasn't going to be enough for my clients. They couldn't just listen to me or just follow my system. They needed other influence. They needed other tools that could bring them along faster than meeting with me once a week for an hour or two to get a quick download and have me pour into them as much as I could. So another part of my prior history was just before all this took place, I actually had a client who was a promoter for some of the names that you mentioned. And this client had different tools and resold some of those people's material that you mentioned. I'm not avoiding the names. I'm going to get to a point here. And so I was studying these courses, and that lent itself beautifully for the career that I was about to choose. So I was kind of in a pre-season mode of studying team building and leadership and customer service in a deeper level, strategic planning, holding employees accountable. Those were topics that I was fascinated with. So that when I did meet Jim Selman and he showed me this bigger picture, the system that I could bring that information into, it was a beautiful marriage of 1 year's or 2 year or 3 years worth of taking these courses and ending up sitting in front of him as my alleged mentor. So at the time, I had been studying some of Dr. Stephen Covey's original work on leadership. And I was absolutely fascinated with his book and his recordings on principle-based leadership.
Yes.
Because it fit in with the biblical model that I was about to step into, and I couldn't see the two, but he was bringing principles in there. And then, of course, as I studied that was about the time that he came up with later 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and I just immersed myself in that. Mm-hmm. So his work was really, really special for me. Patrick Lencioni does some wonderful, wonderful material. And again, it's all right in the wheelhouse of what I do. It's great for my clients. John Maxwell has wonderful material on leadership. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of John Maxwell material in certain domains. Mm-hmm. And then I can't leave out the next author because he became my second mentor along the way. Along the way, I needed another mentor, another coach to pour into me and broaden the scope, this vision for mm-hmm. where I was taking my clients and where I was working with my clients. So Steve Chandler became a mentor of mine. He has some wonderful books, and wonderful material on coaching yourself, self-reflection, and then taking that to your clients. Some of his best work are called the Time Warrior, and
was it Fish Sticks? Was that him?
Pardon me?
Was that Fish Sticks, or was that a different?
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
We've used that material. That's great for team building. But Steve Chandler has some wonderful books.
I can't think of the name of his book.
And management. And he is a coach's coach. So he poured into me, but the books are really relevant. He actually has some books he's written for coaches as well. Mm-hmm. So really good material, and there's a lot of great authors out there. I can't leave off the famous Ken Blanchard, because
Oh, of
Ken
course,
Blanchard's
Ken Blanchard.
1 Minute Manager Leadership, Gung
Mm-hmm.
Ho, some of these books on team building leadership,
Mm-hmm.
strategic planning management, uh, deep lessons on leadership, raving fans. These are wonderful
Yeah.
books. But I think the thing I want to leave this with, Bralynn, is not just the fact that they're good books, because we do have a curriculum, and I'm going to share that with you on the other side. But
Mm-hmm.
we do have a curriculum of books and not recommended reading, required reading for our clients. But here's the key. Yes, all of the books that we have our clients read are bestsellers on Amazon and New York Times, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But the key is that they're transformational books. Each one of these books has a series of lessons that they teach on these topics that leaders really need to embrace and really need to get into their DNA, into their soul, into their
Yes.
spirit, because they can't become just tools that they flip out there. They've got to be things that they believe, and believe that the tools that have changed their lives are going to change the lives of their employees. So it's transformation, but they're best-selling books, but the transformational lesson on top of the business lesson is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And we have read hundreds, thousands of these books. We get letters, we get emails, we get recommendations. Our students, our clients, people around us, our peers recommend these things. But we carefully screen each and every book, because if it does not include transformation, if it does not change the thinking process, if it doesn't move you down the road spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
deeply in your soul, then it's just another book. It's a good book. It's a New York Times bestseller. But we want the books that are going to make the major impact on every person's life that we recommend that book for.
That's great, and it just reminds me of some more of the early books that I read, which would have probably been 20 plus years ago. The
Yes.
Power of Positive Thinking,
Yes.
Think and Grow Rich,
Think and Grow
How to
Rich.
Win Friends and Influence People. You know, those classics. So yeah, that's good. Okay, well, let's take a break, and when we come back, for real this time. When we come back, we're going to talk about the amazing stuff that you're going to teach in the academy. We're going to talk about how you learned the lessons and do some more name dropping of some amazing people you've worked with.
Yes.
And we will have a great time. So let's just take that break really quick. If I can push the right buttons. Here we go. We'll see you on the other side.
Spirit-centered business, spiritual principles, and business principles combined. If you're ready to align your destiny and discover the destiny of your business, join us. We are entrepreneurs, leaders, and business professionals who take the power of the spirit realm in our business seriously. We go beyond just consuming information. We participate, activate, and engage the supernatural with unbelievable results. If you want to gather with like-minded business professionals to activate spiritual principles and mastermind creative solutions to business challenges, Spirit-Centered Business is your tribe. Go to spiritcenteredbusiness.com to become a member today.
And we are back. We have Coach Gary Henson of businesscoach.com with us, and we want to now talk about how to become a world-class coach. He's going to actually do the training itself in the academy, but we're going to talk about how you came upon the principles of being a world-class coach. We're going to talk about some more of the people that you have coached and have been coached by, because we all need coaches, right? In our lives.
Absolutely.
We can't up level if we don't see a path, or we don't see what needs to be tweaked. And sometimes, like you said, when we're inside the frame, we can't see it because we're inside, right? We need someone to look from the outside and see what our constraints are. And that's
Yes.
why we all need coaches. So
Yeah.
Sometimes people or my clients come to me and they ask me questions about technicality things. And while those are good and we need to have those, the bigger, better question is, how do I become a better coach? And so I couldn't think of anyone that I would want more to answer this question. So Coach Gary, tell us how you came upon this training.
Yeah, so as we talked about in the first segment, we talked a little bit about my life and the graduation of how our business evolved and how Janine and I started to come together on this business ministry model, marketplace ministry model in business. And there was a day about that same time, or maybe just before that time period, I'd like to give a little credit to my oldest daughter. One day she said to me, she goes, Dad, she was working for the company during the summer after she had graduated from high school before college. Mm-hmm. And she said, Dad, you call me all the time and ask me to send these forms to people. And there's this file cabinet that you have with all these tools in there. She says, I'm sitting here waiting for the phone to ring and give me things to do, but I have extra time. Why don't I make a booklet out of that? And instead of phoning me, I'll arrange it and make a tool out of it. And you can bring it to your clients. And then instead of having me send it to them, they can just put copies in their copy machine, or we can make copies for them and they can hand them out to their employees, et cetera, et cetera. So we were going through that process, and I had hired a lady who started out as an intern, graduated to office manager, became a partner in our firm, VP. And I said to her one day, find me more courses. I need more coaches, more coaching, more mind expanding thinking processes. Find me other courses. And every week at our management meetings, I would ask her, who's the next guru that's going to teach me the next big thing that I need to learn? Now, keep in mind, my initial mentors for the first 3 years, solid day and night, were people that invented the coaching concept, the business they've taken it into a business coaching model. And then literally one of my mentors lived with me literally 4 days a week. And that's all we talked about, was going out and getting clients. And then at night over dinner, we talked about the coaching process and how to develop people in business. Mm. So I said back to my office, my VP, I said to her each week, who's the guru? Where's the teacher? And she would, well, this guy's teaching this. And so we'd look at the material, and it wasn't anything that we thought was better than the material we had. And I said to her one day, I said, we're going to come up with our own material. We're going to start training business coaches. And she and one of the other gals that worked for us rolled their eyes back and didn't think too much of it. And eventually I started coming up with notes on our curriculum, like what does it look like? We initially called it a methodology, but it became a curriculum and then a system, a process that we teach people. And so we started developing that, and then I brought that to the two of them, and they said, well, you left this out, you left that out. Oh, good, put it in, keep adding. So we all started taking what's now affectionately referred to as our client workbook. We started taking those documents and putting it into a system, a process that people could follow. And then we advertised, does anybody want to learn how to become a business coach? And this is 25 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot of people out there that knew what the word business coach or coach in business really meant. So we had a bunch of people respond. So we said, hey, would you be willing to pay for that? And they said, yeah. And we said, we'll certify you as a official businesscoach.com certified business coach. And we put the curriculum and the work and the client workbook and everything all together in a package into a 3-day course. And we started teaching people, and everybody came out the other side going like, this is great. I'm going to tell my friends about this. So we advertised some more, and the internet was pretty new about the time that we started really promoting this. And so we went out into the internet and started promoting ourselves as a teacher of business coaches. And eventually we started recording those things and turning them into products that people can buy. And that's the genesis of where we began our business coach training and certification programs.
And so all of this time, though, you were not only compiling these tools, but you were using these tools as a coach to organizations, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have coached and made transformation in the culture of business, in leadership.
Yes.
You know, and you have seen such turnaround. Tell us about the results that you were getting by using your own tools that you created.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to, again, be a little bit transparent here. I have another favorite moment that took place with a good friend of mine, but a client at the time. We had this conference room designed with a big conference room table, like many. And at one end, the whole wall was a dry erase board, the whole wall from the floor to the ceiling. And a lot of my coaching sessions, clients would come in to get away from the noise of their business and to get away from they'd turn their cell phones off and come in, and we'd sit down and we would have coaching sessions in the conference room. Well, one particular day, we started putting X's and O's and notes on the board with this client of mine. And he was talking about increasing the quality of his employees, increasing the productivity by training them to go from this level to this level to this level to this level. So we had this sort of a pyramid thing of X's and O's on the board, and arrows and people's names and lines and levels and so on and so forth. And this took about 90 minutes. He came in prepared with notes to have this conversation on this particular coaching session day. He said, "Can we talk about this, Coach Gary? Increasing the quality of productivity of my team." So at the end of the session, he looks at me and he looks at the board. He points up to the board and he says, "You think this will work?" I said, "I have no idea." I said, on the board, it makes sense. Okay, on paper, it's a good plan, but I don't know if this is going to work or not. But I do know this: if you don't try it, we'll never find out. If you do try it and it doesn't work, we can tweak it. And that's what coaching is. You call a play into it to your team, and you don't give up. If they don't make a touchdown, you see what happens, and then you call another play in. You look at the offense and the defense, and you start massaging your game plan and evolving your game plan until it works, right?
Exactly.
So sure as heck, I measured that over the weeks and months to come, and it worked, and that's in our team playbook. Well, as you can well imagine, that was one conversation with one client. So as we were developing our curriculum, footnote here, as my team and I and my wife and I were developing our curriculum to teach.
It takes a village, right?
It takes a village. It takes a community to finish a big project like this. As this was evolving, so was my relationships with my clients, and so was the results that they were getting. And not every plan that we had worked, but enough of them started working that when the next person said to me, "Do you think this will work?" I would say to them, "Well, it's worked for this guy and this guy and this guy. There's no reason why it shouldn't work for you." So if you implement this plan the way we have drawn it out, yes, it will work. And we'll keep fine tuning it so that it fits for your organization and your people, right?
Yes.
Because no two organizations are identically the same. So the program that we offer our students and the program that we offer our clients are a culmination of this wonderful, beautiful methodology that I learned over 30 years ago from some brilliant people who had gone all over the world. They actually had 60 offices worldwide where they took this transformational methodology, system, process, way of developing relationships with clients. We teach our students to do a 1-year relationship. So you get a monthly retainer fee paid to you every month, and you develop the relationship over 12 months. And the idea behind the 12-month is to use our system, our methodology, for 12 months to transform an organization from where they are now to where they want to be. So the first level is a dream session, a vision of where are you afraid to dream your company to be? What would be so inspiring to you and so frightening at the same time that you would dare to do that? So I want to put that into a little bit more specific conversation. If I meet somebody who did $4 million in sales last year, and they had a 10% profit overall in a 12-month period, they say to me, Coach Gary, if we can make that 11 or 12% profit and do 4.5 million this year with your coaching, not only would we pay for the coaching, but we would be happy with the results, and our profit margins will continue to grow and expand because we'll have somebody observing us and working with us and developing us as we go along. We'll be all the better at the end of the year. And I say, I agree with you. I think that's a great philosophy. But if we said 5.5 or $6 million, everything else would be the truth, and everything else will be the same, except for instead of 4.5, you'll do $6 million in sales, and we'll have a bigger goal. And everybody's response, Bralynn, is the identical same. We tried that before and it didn't work, so we think it's crazy to go for a big leap. And I agree with them again and say, that's great, but you didn't have somebody alongside of you, like a coach, to call the plays in, and then when the plays work, keep using those plays, and when they don't work, change the plays and call in a different play. So you're not dealing with the same dynamic when you have somebody from the outside observing the game as you are when you're in the game and doing the game without having a coach to coach you through.
That's absolutely the truth. And also, when they say we've tried that before and it didn't work, and you said you're right, it's because of their mindset, right? So you needed to work a lot on their mindset to believe in themselves that they could implement the plan. Obviously, having you there coaching and not necessarily holding their hand, but holding them accountable to what they said they wanted and the dream that they said they wanted. That is so critical, and that might be one of the things that maybe that could be the reason why people don't hire coaches, is because they don't want to be held responsible. They don't
want to be held accountable. Yes,
accountable, right? Exactly, to their dreams. But good on you.
Magically here, Bralynn, I feel a teaching moment coming on. So
let me, it's just magical, isn't it? I love teaching moments. Go for it.
Let's dance with some of the words that you had there, and let's put this into perspective that people can have a major impact on what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
First of all, everybody has a worldview. Okay, so if you're a 5-year-old kid playing in a playground, your worldview is that of your combined experiences of 5 years and the moment that you're in the playground looking around. That's your experience. If you're a 35-year-old single woman, you have a worldview of 35 years of what you've accumulated and stored in your brain over 35 years. That's the only worldview you can have is yours. Mm-hmm. The combined experiences of 35 years, we call that your paradigm or your worldview, okay? So a business owner has a worldview as well, but their worldview is shaped by the experiences that they have. And rarely do I ever work with a client that has been in business for less than 5 years. So when they have that, they have 5 years of good things and bad things and good experiences and bad experiences and victories with employees and defeats with hiring the wrong people, firing the right people. And all of these things have shaped their worldview. So here's the $1 million moment for everybody watching this recording. Here's the $1 million moment. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So you have to be able to be in a space where you're open to change and you realize that you don't have the answers. In fact, you're so confused about getting where you want to get to, you don't even have the right questions to ask. Okay. And there's three things that a well-trained business coach can do for you that you never, ever, ever going to be able to do for yourself. Number one, they bring an outside objective opinion. So anybody, whether they've had training or not, if they're coaching a male and they're a female, they're bringing a female point of view different than the person that they're coaching. So just that difference right there. But it's also a different worldview that they're bringing, their worldview, and they're observing the other person and they're saying, hey, wait a minute. You got a milk stash on your face. You've got you're talking to your employees like you're Adolf Hitler. You're not creating relationships and developing relationships deep enough with your clients that they can respect you and have a complete relationship. So a coach looking from the outside has an outside objective opinion. They don't even have to know anything about business. If they're well trained, they can bring that opinion to the person. The second thing they do in bringing that outside objective opinion is they become the accountability partner. So if I say, hey, Bralynn, did you realize if you cut 4 inches off of your hair, you would look a lot more attractive or whatever? And you, in your worldview, you can't see that, but in mine, I can. So if you say, yes, I see that now, I didn't notice that before, then next week when I have an appointment with you, I want to see you, if you're committed, I want to see 4 inches left.
It'll be that
shorter on your hairdo, or a different color, or 2 more colors added in, or whatever. So you can't see that because you look at the same person in the mirror every day.
Right.
But if I'm your accountability partner and I make some recommendations, read this book by Stephen Covey, read this book by John Maxwell, read this book by the famous 1-minute manager, Ken Blanchard. And then next week, I want to know that you committed to reading the book. Tell me what you got out of the book. What's the change that that's going to have? What's the impact that book is going to have on your business? And then the third thing is you become the change agent. You become the person that helps them shape a brand new future for their business. And when they say, yeah, let's go for 4.5 million, that would, we think that would be great. And you say, let's go for 6 million, and I'll be there right there with you. I want you to commit to $6 million, but guess what? I'm going to commit to that too. So my thinking, my worldview now is not a view as a $4 million business. My worldview is you are a $6 million business. And that's the conversations that we're going to have going forward. Mm-hmm. The problem with the business owner that said, we tried that before time and time and time again, and all we did was frustrate our staff, frustrate each other, is that you changed the goal, but you didn't change who you were being. You have to become the leader that is a $6 million company leader, not a $4 million company, hoping and dreaming and opening fortune cookies, wondering if you're going to become that $6 million business. You've got to start thinking and being and training yourself to become the leader of a $6 million business. And that person is a different business, which brings us up to our aforementioned topic. Phenomenal book and concept for our readers. If you want to have a great business, or if you want to become a great business coach, read the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. What Got You Here Won't Get You There by Marshall Goldsmith. That I believe, I'm not stretching the truth by saying, I think it's the best selling business book of all times. It sold more copies, got more accolades. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list time and time and time again. But I believe there's been more books printed in the United States of that book than any other business book. It's been read by more people, because the concept is that I'm a $4 million guy, and I've tried to become a $5 or $6 million company several times, but I didn't change who I was. So this book gives me the tools to say, what got you to 4 million is not going to get you to 6 million. So you've got to be a different person. You got to change that worldview to be a different type of a person. And if you want to become a great business coach, you got to change the mindset from I'm a coach when I'm with my client, but when I'm not with my client, I'm a business person. I got to think like an entrepreneur. I've got to set my business up, not like a doctor says, well, I'm going to open up a practice. We're not practicing anything. When we teach our coaches, we teach them how to become world-class entrepreneurs. And when you think like an entrepreneur, outside of your relationship with your clients, you start thinking, okay, now do I have a plan? Do I know how to position myself and market myself so that clients are attracted to me? Do I have the right statements that I say on my website? Do I understand what my clients are looking for? Or do I think I know and I bring them what I think they want? How about this? Think like an entrepreneur. Here's another $1 million idea, Bralynn, if I do say so myself.
I'm ready.
Think like an entrepreneur and ask your clients, is the coaching sessions that we are doing, is that working for you? Is this what you signed up for? Number one. And number two, what's the number one thing you get out of having a relationship with me? What's the thing that when I'm leaving here and you're making notes and thinking about our relationship, what's the number one thing that you go like, I really like that Coach Gary because he does, and then fill in the blanks. Now, if you ask those two questions to your clients and you know that you know that you know, the reason why they like you is because you're a good listener. The reason why they like you is because you bring good information to them. The reason why they like you is because you're a great accountability partner, whatever it is that they tell you. Mm-hmm. If you hear that from enough clients, then you now have marketing material to get future clients because you attract people like the people. Somehow you attracted the people that are your clients, mm-hmm. and you attracted them. You want to attract more people like that, I assume. Then you start finding out what had them attracted to you and why they keep coming back week after week after week for these coaching sessions.
Right. And that's kind of like,
you can use that for your marketing material and you can draw more attention of those kinds of people towards you.
That's brilliant. Yeah, work with your strengths.
Yeah,
oh
it's
my
a brilliant
gosh.
idea, but I got to be honest, Bralynn, it wasn't my idea. I learned that from a brilliant business coach.
Well, I learned most of my stuff from everybody else too, and Holy Spirit. But
Amen.
Okay, I am so stoked for what you're going to be teaching us in the academy. I almost I don't want to stop the recording but I have to because I want the best for my academy. So thank you so much for watching Spirit Centered Business. Again, this has been Coach Gary Henson. Now, Gary, you have businesscoach.com, and I know that you just released a free resource or a free tool on your website. Is that correct?
We did indeed. It's called the Hustle Guide.
Okay.
So you can go to businesscoach.com. It's absolutely free. It's not a 1-page, 2-page thing. It's several pages. It's got questions to ask yourself at the end to find out if you are embracing the material and so on and so forth. So if you just go to businesscoach.com, go to the homepage, there's a button somewhere inside. Go ahead and click on that. You can upload the Hustle Guide at businesscoach.com.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. And they'll also once they do that, they'll be on your list. And I know that you give great information every week. You send out the emails with amazing information. So go ahead and do that. Once again, businesscoach.com. And I have to end this. I almost don't want to, but I have to. So thanks you guys for watching. Please subscribe, share wherever you're watching this or listening to it on the podcast. Please become a fan. We absolutely love you, and we can't do this without you. So go ahead and go to spiritcenteredbusiness.com and join the academy if you would love teaching like Gary's and a lot of other stuff that we have. Or you can also join the activation group. We would love to have you over there. All right. Until the next broadcast, stay spirit-centered. Peace out.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Centered Business with Bralynn Newby. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. The next stage of doing business by being spirit-centered is coming together in collaboration, working with spiritual principles and knowing our destiny. Join our tribe at spiritcenteredbusiness.com, and we'll catch you on the next broadcast. Peace out.
Hi there, my name is Coach Gary and I'm the president and founder of businesscoach.com. So what I was about to say is I'm not kidding, Bralynn. You really have helped me out a lot today, and I've gotten a much better perspective on how to position my business and market my business because of the strategies that you put forward and the order that you put them in. Sometimes we get things out of order, and us business people who are not born marketers get confused, and when the order gets scrambled, we don't know marketing from sales, from branding to anything else. So thank you for helping me create the thinking process that one walks through when one really wants to take their business to the next level.